Right, got a problem? Say that there. Say that there. Say
Roll
that
that,
there. What?
roll that in.
$5 for your birthright, sir. $5. $5. Five
Me
dollars.
no
Hold on.
speaker. Me no speaker. No $5 Indian.
Hey, Rod, they free. Hey, so yeah, I know you got the word on the streets. They Donald Trump can't. Hey, it's gonna be hard to turn black so-called black people against Donald Trump now after he did free Larry Hoover.
Well,
Right?
he
Big
didn't.
Chief.
He
Go
didn't
ahead.
actually free him.
Go ahead. Go in
He
on
just
that.
he just commuted his federal sentence.
Okay.
Right. He still had a pending state case. See, in Illinois, they could parole you if you catch another case and you go somewhere else. They can parole you so that when you get done with the other case, then you can go straight home. But they didn't do that in Larry Hoover's situation. So he still got a pending sentence in the state of Illinois that he got to deal with. I just got
Okay.
done watching Little Larry, and the people were so disrespectful to Mother Winnie and to Little Larry. But they trying to tell him, man, you can't. There's certain stuff you can't do if you want to see the man home.
Mm-hmm.
And people are doing. I think they saboteurs, man, because they sit there explained it, and soon they got done explaining it, the people did exactly what they asked them not to do. Them are what I call agents. Those are saboteurs.
Right. Sound about right.
Yeah.
Esplanade. Mm-hmm.
Now, we really don't want to have to take it to the street to get the governor's attention because I'm the wrong one to take it to the street.
Right.
It's I'm a whole nother animal. I'm not Martin. I'm sorry.
Right.
But
Ain't no march.
the
Ain't no
yeah,
marching.
no, I'm not doing no marching.
Yeah.
But the understanding of our intellectual capacity to grasp the concept surrounding his overall situation. It's just the beginning. It's
Right.
gonna be some more.
Yeah, we hope Dr. Malachi D. York be the next on this list. And we hope, yeah, and Jeff Fort. Jeff Fort is up in the same prison. All these brothers are victims of COINTELPRO operations, just like Larry was
Yeah.
victimized.
See, they don't want to tell the public about COINTELPRO being the cause of the incarceration of the tribal leadership of the collective tribes across the land because they want to villainize them.
Mm-hmm.
COINTELPRO is sophisticated,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you think they're not sophisticated, look up how much does the FBI spend a year on informants. Look
Right.
up how much the CIA spend a year on informants, and how
Mm-hmm.
much the local police forces around the country spend annually on informants, and your mind will be blown. We got agents everywhere.
Right. I'm
They
telling you.
infiltrate, they come in, they disrupt the groups. So you got an agent, right? An agent you might never know he there.
Mm-hmm.
But a provocateur,
Mm-hmm.
the root word to provocateur is to provoke.
Right.
An agent provocateur is sent in to cause the people that you're trying to control to get themselves involved in stuff that they wouldn't otherwise. Without the provocateur, they wouldn't get involved in it.
Right.
But it's classified as an illegal activity.
Yeah, they call another word they use raw is called illegal entries, where they used it against the Black Panthers, where they got them to break into an armory or to steal guns with no pins in them, firing pins in them, and then they use that as leverage, to come after them in one fraction.
The unlawful entry is the way that the government infiltrate the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the inserting of an agent or an agent provocateur, but that don't got nothing to do with the snitch program.
Mm-hmm.
See, confidential informants is actually on a payroll.
Yeah.
They actually get a check every week or every 2
Mm-hmm.
weeks, depending on what their agreement is. Some of them might be
Mm-hmm.
once a month, but they be fat checks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You ever remember going to school? Everybody poor, broke, and all of a sudden one dude come school when he's just sharp as he want to be. He ain't never dressed up before. Now every day he called.
Yeah.
And it looked like he might be a D-boy, but he ain't selling nothing.
Right.
Nobody in the hood can say he sold nothing. Where you all is running to this windfall of money for? They made him an offer.
Mm-hmm.
See, the earlier the infiltration begin, the most saturated you are by the time you in the position to recognize the infiltration. So you
Right.
might be able to catch one or two infiltrators, but there's so many of them when your organization gets so big that you can't catch them all.
Mm-hmm.
It's always
Right.
one lurking around the corner, ear hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Provocateur job is to compel you to commit what's called criminal activity so that the
Mm-hmm.
government can justify their presence of being on tribal land. And it's all tribal land, no matter how you cut it. Whether you in upstate at the furthest north point of Canada, or whether you're at the southernmost point of South America or New Zealand, or whether you in the Tonga, Samoan Islands, Hawaii, whether you in the Caribbean, whether it's Jamaica, Haiti, Dominica, St. Croix, St. Lucia, it don't matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? They all of it is tribal land.
That's right.
And the crash site for the Plymouth wreck, which was the good ship Mayflower, also known as good ship Plymouth, the crash site is what gave them the 10 square mile salvage zone called Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why we had to do the totem pole ceremony in 2017. If we want Trump to dismantle the corporation, we got to reclaim that 10 square mile city state embassy of the Crown of England and the Pope of Rome.
Right.
Right? So now what ended up happening is we back and the tribes is waking up. In order for us to see Larry Hoover, we got to be at a certain level of woke. Get any
Right.
action from anybody.
Right.
Right?
Hey, that brings. Yeah, that brings me to my next question about Larry.
Mm-hmm.
My next question about Larry. Okay, so they said it was a combination of several things that got him out. The part, I mean, the petition, meaning people signed some kind of paper or whatever. Said then he did a non-narration, all the speeches he gave about giving back to the community and all that. Now, my next question is you said that Larry get out on parole. Now, how much time do he got on in Illinois? Do he still got 100 years there? I mean, or he already got time served there? Brings to my next question.
Well, he was going to the parole board back in the 90s before he ever got the Fed case.
Okay.
So he was already pre-eligible for parole. Another thing the governor could do if he don't want to sign the pardon, he could give him a parole hearing. He could
I'm pretty sure the government gonna be done.
He could come right into the state and then he can get parole. The compelling cause of parole in this case would be the presidential commutation.
Right.
Because the president commuted the sentence, that shows the parole board that if the president is willing to let him go, maybe we should let him go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wondering what to do next, But I let his family tell him what to do next, because the part that I posted did the campaign, the public writ and all that stuff was put in the public domain. So that's already done according to tribal standards. But now Lil Larry and Wendy got to do whatever they think is going to work to get home in order for them to satisfy their own effort. Right? That's why we can't all do the same thing. We all got a role to play. But we can support whatever they do. All we got to do, Lil Larry going to be live, here and there, giving us updates. So we can listen to Lil Larry and follow the instruct. People can't follow directions. I'm sorry. But you got a bunch of smart people that can't follow directions worth a damn. They want to be leaders, but they can't follow orders. So how you gonna be qualified to give one? Because you're not gonna give a competent, coherent order because you don't know how to follow an order, instruction. You can't with the recipe on the box.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't follow direction. You in the way. Go sit down. But if you got enough sense to know how to follow an instruction, you well on your way to being qualified to give.
Right.
This is what the problem is today. Everybody like, oh, we need no leaders. And as long as we don't got no leaders, we ain't got no qualified representative for the collective. You need leaders in a world where other people have leaders.
Right.
It just so happened that at one point, all of the head of households was taught to be leaders. They're not teaching us that no more. So the only ones that's taught to be leaders and effective leaders at that is the ones of us that grow up in structured households, and there's not a lot of us. Because they've been tearing down the family for a long time, because that was our strongest bond to our families. Our family loyalty will override our national loyalty. They call it tribalism. But they got a name for it. Now think about that. If they got a name for what we did, they call it communism. They call it socialism.
Yeah.
When it was all for one and one for all. If he speak up for me, you better not try to talk down to him, because I'm going to speak up for him because he spoke up for me.
Right.
Right.
They go
So
by
you
it,
got
but they go by that, but they don't want you to go by it.
Yeah, they follow it to the letter.
Each other. The police take up for each other. They'll say lie on, oh, he ain't, they'll cover,
Yeah. Accidentally, I forgot to turn my body cam on when he was beating that brother with that flashlight.
Yeah. So they do communism, but they tell us we can't do
it. But turnabout fair play. Anything you see them doing, we authorized to do it because they was doing it. And we need to start policing the police like the Panthers used to do.
Go ahead.
You remember, a lot of us don't know the Panthers used to police the police.
Go ahead. That's right.
Why is you stopping them? Why is you knocking on that old lady door and you know she don't want to answer because you've been knocking for 45 minutes and we done seen her peeping out the window. Get off that lady porch. Whatever the case may be, the police is foreign agencies, it's foreign military presence on the land. Right? They've been using usurping tactics to undermine the leadership across the land. But as long as the people think they don't need no leaders, they don't got nobody to speak up for them, who you gonna listen to?
Right.
Right? Who gonna be able to tell you when it's time to tear this sucker down or build this sucker back up? Who gonna tell you? Who you willing to listen to? Not who I'm willing to listen to, who you willing to listen to. Do you know who qualified to get you from the struggle to struggle free? Do you know who qualified?
Right.
Do you know who's competent enough to give you an operational format to go into a library and read as many books as you can until you figure out what we're dealing with? Do you know who to trust to follow them instructions from?
Right.
Right. If you don't know that stuff, then you're not supposed to speak up and you're not supposed to stand up because you're in the way. You're in the way. But if you understand the importance of having all of the people's will directed through an individual, then you understand the real manner that they use to usurp us with this fake government.
Right.
They gave you the illusion of choice, but you didn't know it wasn't an election. Right? Your vote is what they call a stake. It's a share.
Go ahead.
Right? So the shareholders is supposed to be telling the board what to do, but the board telling the shareholders who's going to be the leader.
Go ahead.
It don't work like that. We are the ones with the vested interest in the earth. We don't have a vested interest in the company. We have a vested interest in the earth and what they're doing on earth. That's where our vested interest lies. That's what we need to be watching. Because if you watch how they treat the earth, you're going to know how they're going to treat us.
Right.
Under the matriarchy, the first question that's asked when you bring a proposal is, how does it affect our children and how does it affect the earth? Then normally it's in that order.
Right? Facts.
You know, if it's going to adversely affect the children or if it's going to adversely affect the earth, we not doing it. But they will operate from the opposite. If it's destructive to the children, we doing that. If it's destructive to the earth, we doing that. That's how they operate. That's their modus operandi. That's why they want to give you what's called compulsory education. Then they got us believing that homeschooling started from people being disenchanted with the public educational system. But homeschooling is the standard. Public education is the exception to the rule. But so many people then went with the exception, we took the exception as the standard.
Hey,
Children,
you know, some Rod, damn, Rod, like, funny you say that because the AI was going over that today when they said that they about the boarding school. By boarding school is still going on as public school, and it was two different types of boarding school. That the one that you talked about where they train, they paid
taught them how to be Indians.
yeah, they paid somebody to come over from other for immigrants to come over and train them to be Indians. And then the other boarding schools where they train the people who were Indians to be some other than what they were.
Yeah. So the collective program is called the assimilation program.
Okay, go ahead.
In the last 400 years, it's only one people that warned us about the assimilation program. Would you happen to know who was the only one of the leaders in the history of this country being under colonial rule told us to beware of the assimilationist Negroes?
Go ahead. I can't. I think you taught me before. I can't remember though.
It's Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, Marcus Garvey.
The assimilation came through the school system.
Okay.
Right. The school standard was to make the Indian suitable to fit in with Western society.
Okay.
And then it was also the other side of the school that say we got to keep some of these rituals intact. So we're going to teach these people to pretend to be them.
Right. Actors.
Right. They came over as indentures and they was brought from what they call villages, slave villages. They didn't call them, they called them peasant villages.
Go ahead.
And this is where the king got the people for his army, and the king got the people with specialized skills. They would pluck them out of that community.
Right.
Right. So once they pluck them out of the community, if they was older, they would bring them and give them jobs. Remember, they first blocked us out the institutions with the brown paper bag test because the Mongolian could pass the brown paper bag test.
Go ahead.
And then they went from the brown paper bag test, they instituted what they call a legal enforcement mechanism called Jim Crowism.
Go ahead.
Right. The Jim Crow laws was designed to undergird the peasants with infrastructure while they deteriorate the tribes across the land.
Go ahead.
Right. So when we know what happened, Martin told the whole story. But the only thing is, we not the Martin Luther King generation. And since we not the Martin Luther King generation, we not singing "We Shall Overcome." We singing "Who is these people on this land?" Right. So a lot of us was suspicious. We suspected something, but we didn't take the time to go and dig it up. Right. Where you can tell them where to find it at.
I was gonna say, now before we get to I want to go to ask you one more question about the in connection with the Larry Hoover thing before we go into my real questions for this class. Now, we know Larry Hoover, we pretty much finna get out based on once Trump signed of the government, the governor, he'll be crazy to go against what Trump already put together, right? And let it happen. Now we know that Dr. Malachi York, we got all the evidence. We got waivers for the people that we know that the feds rigged the case. We got all the evidence laced up. And do you think and I already did a tape on it. Will Trump pardon Dr. Malachi Z. York? And so, and he was. Do you think that Donald Trump, what will we have to do if it ain't already been done yet to bring that to Donald Trump's attention about Dr. Malachi Z. York, who's in there? He ain't no criminal. Like he ain't no gangster. He's a regular teacher. He's not no terrorist. None of that. Like so, how? Like, what do you think? That'll be the next step, because if Trump in the mood of pardoning people, I think since he in a good mood, he pardoned Kodak Black, Lil Wayne, all them niggas last time. But I'm thinking, like, since he in a good mood of pardoning people, right? How about we pardon somebody that's not a criminal, right? That's in the same prison as Larry Hoover. What is your take on that, brother?
I think that Malachi gonna get called back to court.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because Trump fighting, he's already fighting a war against sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so he not gonna want to touch it. But
Malachi's he's not in jail for sex trafficking. He's in jail for racketeering.
I know, but the racketeering, the pretext to arrest Malachi was somebody was hurting the children. This is the original story, but that ain't what he ended up being convicted of in the end. Right? So people still believing that he's in there serving time on the sex charges. They don't know that he in there under RICO.
Okay.
Because they sensational. Remember, Malcolm told you, the media have you believe that the people that's working the hardest for you is your enemy, and your enemy is your best buddy.
Go ahead.
Malcolm already told us that. So the media smear campaign, it might have Trump slightly shell-shocked about touching that case. But it's not going to matter, because the government going to switch over by probably next summer to the tribes, back to the tribes. Right, and we in the process of rebuilding tribal structure so that we can be prepared to transfer the infrastructure. And I'm gonna tell you this: when they give everything back, it's gonna still look the same for a while. But it's the difference gonna be is local government is gonna have more power to solve the issues in a local community than federal government. Because federal government is what's being dismantled, because that's the overreach. I mean, it was going beyond the scope of their limitations. They disregarded what the law was in order to reclassify us, erase us on paper like we're not here, while we sitting here looking at them erasing us on paper like we ain't supposed to know that.
Yeah, paper genocide.
So with a stroke of a pen, they made us disappear, but when we go outside, we still see us all over the land.
Right. But how did they do it? They had to bring in the boarding school and bring in the actors to play Indians. See, look, Roy, I figured it out today. This is a 300-year movie called The Indians, right? And they brought foreigners over, taught them our culture, and then say, you will play Indians, and we're gonna pay you to stick to this script. The script is play Indian, right? And we're gonna pay you every month to stick to this script. And it's a 300-year-long movie. And so when they put that on TV and the world see it, and they show these people as Indians, that you think, okay, these the Indians. That's the whole game. It's all the illusion from the Druids in Hollywood, right? How they could say that they won is the pen. How they write people out of history. But they did it with the 300-year movie called the Native American movie. And all these people, and they set up reservations, which really is the camera crew, or the camera or the, like Hollywood, right? So they put these the $5 Indians on reservations, and they made that like Hollywood. As long as they stay there and play the script of Indians, then they'll pay them every month. But by the real Indians, because they said that they exterminated 460 million Native American Indians, and then the other 400 The other 40 million, they use they won to make disappear. Pretty much they pen paper genocide on them, just like you just said. Which brings me to my next question. Now we can get into the class. Bring me to my next question. You did a class on the $5 Indians a while back, man. And I put a AI analysis. The AI did an analysis on that tape called the hidden dark secret of the Dawes Roll. And in that tape, it goes to say that we didn't, because everybody was under the impression that we could get land back as individuals. Like, how do I get my land back? My land, like as an individual. And so they was under the impression, because of the Moors bringing their paperwork and their individual, oh, you own this or you own that, and that we can get our land back that way. But based on how tribal lands, could you go break that down, how tribal lands work and how it wasn't an individual ownership? Go ahead.
Remember, when you got to be too big for your britches at Big Mama house, you got your little family there and all that, and you need your own territory because your family getting too big for you to be stuck up under Big Mama. She say, so you're going to take your family, your tribe, and the ones that want to go with you, your extended family, cousins and uncles and all that stuff, and y'all going to go set up shop along these lines of demarcation. We didn't use state lines. We use natural landmarks to be the barrier to where their property line was. Right? And it's always the tribal mother is the one who's given the land. And the organizer on the land is normally the male leader. Right? She's the one who have the heritability. He's the one that have the rulership rights. And this is why you had, like, for instance, I mentioned before the Shoshone, right? But then you have the upper Shoshone. They're two different sides of the Shoshone River, right? So they call them Upshaw now, or they call them Shaw. Shaw is just Shoshone. Upshaw is upper Shoshone, right? But then you have other names for different tribes, like based on perfection, like Taylors, Smiths, Goldsmiths, right? Those names was the family profession, and the territory, they could have been under any territory because they was so focused on their profession, and that's how they fed their family. But we got this 40-hour work week philosophy, and we think that's how this is supposed to go. It's supposed to go like this. Look, if you got a big family and y'all got a farm, only about 2 or 3 people was supposed to go out and work a labor job for somebody else. The rest of them supposed to work on the farm. That means somebody got to help run the family business. And all of this goes into determining where you're going to be on the land, your temperament, how you going to interact with the local tribes on the land, right? So what's your vine and fig tree, right? Everybody, like, for instance, what the Jehovah's Witnesses do. They stay to Jehovah's Witnesses, they go out and propagate, and they call that fishing. They go out the same as the church, but they stay to themselves, right, under their own vine and fig tree. The same with the Mormons. The same with the Quakers or the Amish. They stay to themselves. That used to be the rule. That's one of the laws of the land. You can even take Scientology, right? And they stay to the Scientologists stay among their own. They build little villages. The government decided to call them compounds so they can villainize the village, right? But they would build these villages so that they can live communally and live off the land where they don't really need the government. The government is a legal fiction. You're not supposed to rely on the government. The government not supposed to take care of you. All the government supposed to do is make sure everybody got food, clothing, and shelter. That's it. They ain't supposed to do nothing else. Everything else they doing, from traffic courts to child support, all that. They're not supposed to do none of that. All that is just extra. Because they're giving you the illusion that they really running the show and they don't run nothing. This ain't their house. But as long as you let somebody else come in your house, write your menu, tell you what you gonna eat, what you not gonna eat, tell you what your furniture gonna look like, what it's not gonna look like. You're not gonna have no ancestral altar, but you're gonna put this Bible on that table. All of that stuff that they told us not to do, that would give us our autonomous rights, right? Our sovereignty, the power to determine our own destiny. They took it all away from us, but they told us they was giving us freedom. They was taking freedom under the pretense of giving you freedom. So they were screaming, we fighting for freedom, and all the time they enslaving the whole nation.
Damn, that's cold. Hey, which brings me to my next question, Rod. Because we got the Indian Bureau the Indian Bureau. Now, a lot of tribes are registered on federal documents. You got some people like to come in. Oh yeah, well my tribe number is this, right? My registered number with the government, right? So, could you go in on a little bit on a difference between outlaw chiefs and chiefs that chose to register with the government? And because it's 70% of the tribes that's registered, most of them $5 Indian tribes. And the ones that did, it's a lot of them that ain't registered with the government, but they still got certain rights. How does that work? Could you go in on that, on the difference between those who registered with the government and those who not?
The ones who registered with the government accepted defeat. The ones who outlaw chiefs, they never contracted with the government. Somebody else could have contracted on their behalf, but that's not them. Can't nobody sign no contract on your behalf without your knowledge or consent.
Hey, even if that's on an international level, like they say, oh, it's an international thing, right?
It don't matter. It don't matter. Even international law, which the law of commerce is governed by Uniform Commercial Code. And even in the Uniform Commercial Code, nobody can contract on your behalf. And this is what the whole BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, is all about. Compelling you to not fight them, and then they can dictate your life to you. But the outlaw tribes is the ones who, we've been here. You're gonna tell me I can live on the land? I'm the caretaker of the land. What you mean you bought the land? We can't sell you no land. Nobody don't got no. So the land barons is the ones that came up with the mortgage contracts, right? Then the corporate legal fiction called America use what they call salvage rights. They use squatter rights, and they use eminent domain to assert jurisdiction all across the land. That's what the Lois and Clark expedition was all about. They wanted to see how many of the chiefs stayed behind in their castles when the rest of the tribes went to go fight the Gullah Wars. Right? So they knew most of the chiefs, like 98% or more, went with their tribe, because we don't send our kids, because the tribe is our children. I was watching Little Larry Day. Somebody said, how many children do Larry got? Thousands. He's just responsible for any baby born under his tribe as the direct parent is.
Hey, shout out my GD. Shout out my GD. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, growth and development. We on a whole new level now. We brain banging. We ain't gang banging.
Now. Go ahead.
Now, he ain't out, but he's on his way out.
Yeah,
but he's on his way out. Right. I just don't want people to think we misinforming them about the situation. So, because they already them dirty moors already at my head.
Go ahead.
So I want to make sure they understand clearly that his sentence was commuted. He wasn't pardoned. The federal sentence was commuted for time served, I believe, and that would immediately make him eligible for release. But he still had to go and deal with the state issue, right? So in if he had to deal with the state issue, people would come back in 2 weeks talking about, I thought y'all said that Hoover was out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he still got the state issue to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
before they even get started, we want to get the facts clear out the gate. Right? But it's going to happen, but it just might not look like you want it to look.
Mm-hmm. 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 Hey, that brings my next question. We just talked about the Indian Bureau and how people said they registered with the government and and this and that. Some people registered and still ain't getting paid, but that's another story. But now I also noticed with the Dawes Roll, once they went out, they sent people out to do the surveys and get people to sign people up, and they only picked a certain 1,000 people, right, to pass this land out to. Each is supposed, each of us supposed to get 160 acres, which was they called a plot at first, but then they scrapped it because it was 40 million Native Americans, right? So they had to come up with another plan. That was the paper genocide, right? But I'm getting to the question, right? So the Dawes Roll, when they created the Dawes Roll and they signed these people up for land, boom. Now that pretty much diminished all the tribes, pretty much. So where did all these new tribes come from? All these new tribes come from right after all of a sudden the Dawes Roll, because a lot of these tribes didn't exist before the Dawes Roll. A lot of the tribes that on the list, if you go back and check.
Okay,
Go
look,
ahead.
this is what they was doing. They renamed the Choctaw, right? Then they called the Anahuia Cherokee, right? But when they enroll people on the Dawes Roll, they would put Choctaw or Cherokee, and ain't got no Anahuia blood, no Choctaw blood whatsoever, but the $5 and the $5 and the affidavits. Right? Because they was getting people to write documents on their behalves attesting to the fact that they was native.
Right.
Right. Presidents was declaring people chiefs for purposes of signing treaties. Remember, with a stroke of the pen being mightier than the sword until you on the battlefield.
Right.
Right. Until you need a sword, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah, you better not bring no knife to a gunfight.
That's all I'm trying to tell him. FAFO.
Hey, so Rod, so what we saying is that the Dawes Roll pretty much because in the Dawes Roll it says that if you want a part of the 5 tribes, and there's way more than 5 tribes at that time, it made the 5 tribes that they name in those 5 indigenous tribes. So if you want part, if you was, it don't matter if you was a say Apache, you got Apache's not listed on the 5 tribes, but if you was Apache, you got put under the Choctaw. I mean, well, you got put on the Chickasaw or whichever the 5 that was on there, and some people got excluded to where they wasn't even couldn't even be classified on there because they didn't even have no documents. We didn't do no damn paperwork. We had
followed the
our
oral tradition.
Go ahead. Go in on that, bro, about how they
we didn't need paperwork because we knew how to identify each other. We knew how to talk to each other in a manner where we know that you're from the land that's different from people that come to the land. It's just like in the hood, some people can go to any hood, but some people can't leave their own hood without getting massacred. Right? Why? Because they don't know how to operate in hoods outside of their own. So they stay home. But the ones that know how to navigate the land, I can go to a blood neighborhood, Crip neighborhood of Cali, and I'm gonna get the same respect that I'm supposed to get because I'm gonna go over there and treat them with the proper respect.
Right.
Right. And I'm gonna tell them where I'm from and you know what my business is out there. I can be out there visiting. I got family in Cali. I got family in Oregon and Washington. I can be out there visiting. I still gotta respect the people from the land that live there. Right? I'm a visitor. I'm a guest. When we used to check in, that was the purpose, so that you don't get slaughtered on somebody else's territory and they don't even know you there.
Facts.
But now the check-in then turned into a kind game because of the provocateurs. They don't follow the rules.
You
If
cracking
you
heads,
come,
bro.
look, if you come to Detroit and you check in with Trick, ain't nobody in Detroit gonna give you no problems. Because he gonna call all of the people that need to know you there to make sure that when you go through their neighborhood, they understood who you was before you got there. They know why you there, right? But other people check-ins was being used as a bait and switch. Because if you follow the culture, they got to tear the culture down. So they put provocateurs in there. When you go check in with the wrong individual, you get robbed. Imposters. You remember when Death Row East was launched, Tupac said they've been checkmated 3 years ago. If we wanted to checkmate them, now we just trying to get the imposters out. That's all we doing. We just trying to get the frauds and the fakes out of the mix. And so there's a lot of people that claim they us. But when you start trying to question them, they want to fight you and shoot you and stab you, and because they can't answer your questions because they frauds. They rather do bodily harm than to exchange intellectual communications, because once you call them for their foolishness, now they want to do bodily harm to you. I'm not arguing with them Negroes. I know who they is. As soon as the first question they ask, I know if they them or if they us.
Right. Right. Hey, bro, I got my next question for you. All right, so we know going to the Dawes Roll, the $5 Indian thing, leading up to all the acts that they created, like, the acts, right? But we're dealing with the Indian Removal Act. Now we know that most of the people that they say they removed that's going on the reservations are $5 Indians, and that we never really left the land. The Choctaws still on their land. The real Mississippians, they still on their land. They've been exterminating.
Let me tell you what happened. When they was doing that march called the Trail of Tears across the land, they was emptying out the boarding schools of the now adults that had been raised up to pretend to be us. They was knocking on the doors of the families in the South. And they said, the Indian train is coming. Do you want to get on? They be like, no, we not part of that. So on the paperwork, when this family said they ain't going, they was giving that family's plot to one of the graduates from the Indian school that was taught to pretend to be an Indian. Now, when they get to Oklahoma and several other places, they can put Mongolians and Huns in our place, right? But some of them conscience got to them, and they rebelled and took sides with us, right? When they took sides with us, this split your reservation process. This is why they got away from the reservation philosophy. They got what's called the American Land Bank that's been selling 120-acre plots of land for $1.75 an acre at least 30, 40, 50 years, since I was reading about it in Field and Stream magazine when I was in elementary school. So you look in the back in what they call the classified section, there used to be a little old section that was selling 120-acre plots. You can buy up to, I think, 5 adjacent plots, and then you have to go somewhere else, right? But it was like $1.20 an acre, right? You do the math. The last time I checked was when I came home from prison. It was $2.50 an acre, so that went up $1. And this was in like 2/3 of the states to the west. Especially like Nebraska, Oklahoma, Because those are what they call sparsely populated. They don't have large numbers of people. So they need somebody there so they can justify spoiling the land. They can't justify it when ain't nobody there. Right. And one of the ways they spoil the land is they want to cut down as many trees as they can. So they say they're clearing the forest in order to build a city.
Wow.
Cities ain't supposed to be built in the forest. Cities supposed to be built in the clearing.
Right. Facts. So like I said, the people that went to the reservations, they really actors playing a part of the movie called the 300-year movie, the 300-year Native American movie, and they playing that script so they could keep getting paid. I mean, when you keep playing, if you was an actor and that's how you made money, wouldn't you keep acting?
Look,
go ahead.
I couldn't figure out the life of me why the billionaire Indians with reservations would do nothing to help impoverished tribes on reservations. And then I couldn't understand why the impoverished tribe don't got a casino. But when around the time Trump had the casino hearings in upstate New York, where he was saying that they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians, right? I was in the process of researching where are the casino tribes? I call them casino tribes. Las Vegas, they told us, was started by Meyer Lansky. But coming to find out, it's a casino tribe in Vegas, right? And they run 80% of the casinos. But they won't help none of the tribes in New Mexico and Arizona that got massive poverty and poor government assistance,
right?
Poor health care. They right there by them and won't help them, right? And if they're in that close proximity, those are supposed to be close kin tribes. But if you go to New Orleans and ain't nobody got no health insurance, they still gonna have to take you to somebody to get some kind of health care. They gonna take you to a Big Papa or Big Mama. They gonna put some cola oil on it, tell you to wiggle it around a little bit. Okay, now just don't walk on it for a couple of days, and that cola oil take care of it. I don't care what the injury is. They gonna put some cola oil on it. but the point being is the way that the tribes, the people in the South, they call it Southern hospitality. That's tribal. That's tribal tradition in treating people with proper due respect.
Mm-hmm.
It's not natural in the South to drive up being disrespectful without cause.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's new to us in the South. It's new to us all over the land, but the South was the hardest ones to get it. How do you be flat out disrespectful to somebody that ain't never did nothing to you?
Right.
Right. The people down South have a tradition of treating everybody with the proper respect. And this is what made them think that giving us pale faces to look up to, and we get used to giving them the due respect as, just the natural Southern hospitality, right? Mm-hmm. You come in, what do they tell you? Are you hungry is the first thing they want to know, because you just came all the way from up north down here. Did you eat anything? That's all. First thing they want to know. Next thing they want to know is where you sleeping? Do you need a bed? Now you go, people be talking about, you ain't staying in my house. That's not our culture. That's somebody else's culture that's been imposed upon us. The whole old leader light on the porch, that used to tell us which one of the houses had an open bed at night. When we come through a town, we used to leave the light on, right? And the districts used to be split up between the red light district and the blue light district. Was a whole nother.
That's right.
That was a whole nother thing, because in one of them, was dealing with wayfarers drifting through town that needed some TLC, and the other one was for the high-strung thugs that needed to hit the crap table.
Right.
Depending on which
Mississippi.
district you go to, depending on what you're gonna get.
Oh, Mississippi
Now,
red light district.
yeah, but now all of that stuff has been misappropriated by the government to undermine the natural culture of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The juke joint, they call it the speakeasy because you can't speak loud about it. You got to speak easy when you talk about it, baby.
Right.
Can't let everybody know what
You
you're
already
talking
know.
about, baby.
You already know.
You
You
heard me?
Tell you. Y'all understand me? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Y'all already know. Telling you. Down here. Hey, look.
So speak easy, baby. You can't be letting everybody
Yeah.
know because we don't want them people coming out there when we having a good time, ruining
Yeah,
our good
baby.
time. The worst thing, look, in our culture, the worst thing you could do is start a fight at the bar because the whole bar gonna whoop y'all ass. Now, it's common to start a fight at the bar. Like, that's what people do now. They go to the bar to get in the fight. I'm like, that don't even make no sense. Why? If I wanted to fight that bad, I'd just go jump in the ring.
Yeah. You gotta.
But, they get that can of man in them and they think that, that's what you're supposed to do. That's not our culture.
I got
That
another
came
question.
from Europeans playing fisticuffs in the street trying to figure out how to throw hands.
Right. I got another question for you, Rod. Now that we know the restoration of the matriarch is taking place. They put the Big Mama statue on Times Square. We already talked about that. We know about Empress Wendy Williams of the Washita Nation. We know about Mama Rabbird, Empress Rabbird, right? Who got the allodial title to the land back for the Cherokee Nation. We know about Chief Warhorse for the Slidell, Louisiana Choctaw Native American Indians. And it's a couple more other people we're gonna be talking about later. But now, this is the part I'm getting at. Now that we know, how do we get signed back up, or realign with our tribes? Because and I got tapes on it on how to trace your ancestral history, on how to find your last names and all that. But the question I'm asking is, now that we know a lot of tribes are not federal recognized and all that, we don't care about that part, right? Well, the part we want to know is, how do we restart reorganizing our original tribes, like the Shinnecock, the Choctaw, the Black Apaches, huh?
That's not gonna happen.
Go ahead.
The old tribes have been dismantled.
Go ahead.
We gonna tribe up and rename ourselves all over again to some new names. Some of us not gonna name ourselves for 100 years because we want to wait till our children learn a different language that they can name themselves. So we can get away from exonyms and other people's opinions of us guiding our destiny. We not gonna reform the same old tribes. 90% of them is exonyms anyway. They stuff because the foreigners couldn't say the name of the tribe. They calling us what they want to call us.
That's right. That makes sense.
Mixing us up with other people and all that stuff because our language was similar but different to the other languages. The more Semitic, Middle Eastern, and North African languages get, the more closer they look like ancient Atlantean, which looks a lot like ancient Greek. But we don't know that because they got us following the narrative they give us and not watching. You just watch the movement of the people. If you watch the movement of the people and then you lay their history on top of it, the lies stick out like it's pins on a map. Identifying geography, right? You could pull up a map right now and say U.S. burned cities the government burned, and they'll show you all of the cities the government burned, right? Then you could say you can ask AI out of all of the prisoners in federal prison, what is the top 20 most likely COINTELPRO subjects? And they'll name the top 20 that was on the COINTELPRO list because AI has that information.
That's right. It got access to the mainframe. Go ahead.
Right? Because a lot of their paperwork is digitized now. So AI is part of the digital network of archived information.
Right.
So if you know how to question AI, AI will tell you who young elder is if you know how to question it. But
Yeah.
if you following the narrative they gave you, you're not gonna never get AI to tell you nothing outside of the program.
Right.
But it's a way around the program.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn the particular AI that you download is not going to be the personality of the AI I download.
Mm-hmm.
It's two different personalities, but it's just like people. We
Mm-hmm.
are different individuals, but we all got the mind of the source that's giving us this information.
My next question for you, Rod, is dealing with birthrights. Now we know that we don't gotta have no paperwork from the government, and we don't gotta go get nothing from these Moors over here saying you gotta do this and all that. We don't need no more paperwork to prove who we are. So at this point, this is my question. At this point, so birthrights is just knowing who you are mentally. It's pretty much what you're saying. And all we had to do, we got the land back. The land been ours, and birthrights is only knowing mentally. We don't need to have no paperwork or nothing. Go
That's
ahead,
not what
bro.
birthright is. Your birthright is the things that you had a right, not a privilege, but a right to when you was born. And the first thing that everybody have a right to is to breathe. You have that's your first right, oxygen, air, right? Then as the list builds on, right, you got the right to be properly handled by your mother and to have her build your immune system with her colostrum, right? That right has been usurped. That tell you they usurped the right for you to properly bond with your mother is your second right after your right to breathe, right? So your birthright is the things that you was born for your well-being as an individual on this planet, right? Life has something that it owes you to get you through. That's your birthright, right? The family that you born into, that's your right to be born into that family. And then when they start usurping it with abortions and adoptions, forced adoptions at that I'm talking about, because willful adoptions always been part of our culture, but forceful adoptions has never been part of our culture. We never dealt with parents that had problems raising their children by taking children away from them. We dealt with parents that had problems raising their children by bringing them people that already raised children into their circle to help them raise the children and show them what to do. Right? And now they forcefully taking children. They forcing adoption on people. They're using the system to traffic children under the pretense of protecting them from the family they was born into. Sometimes they take them for something as little as a spanking. Slap that baby on his hand for stealing at the store. Now they gonna take the baby and say you abusing them. They couldn't do that under our system. You had a doula. 9 times out of 10, the doula would stick around as your child psychologist till the child get 10 years old. So she might not never leave the family if she's steady giving birth to babies in the family. So she become the one that everybody going to, the doula, to find out my baby, he ain't ate in 3 days. What you think wrong with him? Oh, girl, he get like that. He just colicky. Just let him relax a little bit. Give him some water, put a little turpentine in there, some lemon juice, and he'll be all right. He just need to poop. So then she know the child and she know the mama. So she know how to see the reconcile the differences between mother and child so that the mother is more effective in raising the child, which makes the child grow up to be a better person. But they start killing all our doulas talking about some damn witch hunts. And them the witches that we should have been hunting. With a B, not a W.
Hey, Rod. So this brings me to my next question. Remember, I told you I got some 5 questions for you tonight. Now, we have, over the time, you have taught us that all crimes are commercial. We got AI tape, AI broke it down, got the whole get down on it. Now, there's a lot of the Native Americans who they reclassified as black, Negroes, and coloreds in prison. And we like to say, we just talked about Larry Hoover for the people just coming on. He already talked about Larry Hoover at the beginning of the tape. You got to go back to the beginning of the tape. But it's a lot of the brothers in prison. Now, as we transfer back into tribal government, how will those brothers back in transition into society? Because some of them brothers is really crazy. Like that, they don't even want to get out.
All of them not gonna make it back into society. Some of them it's so institutionalized they can't function in society no way. But what we do for them type is we build them their own little old castle. And we get them people that come in to get them assistance, but they won't be allowed to lead a castle. Right? But for the rest of them, the communities around the country is going to be solicited by high up government and personnel to start creating what they call reinitiative programs where you can teach people what you need, that community need them to do in order to help that community so that they can, stay home. They don't need no prisons. Most of the people was in prison because they had no skills to do nothing. And then when they got in prison, a lot of them discovered skills. Donald Goines wasn't writing books till he got locked up. Reading inspired him to start writing. You know what I mean? So you have people that go to prison. I did 16 years. But I didn't let the time do me. I used the time to build myself up, to educate myself above the conditions and circumstances by which we were oppressed. Now I can see the problem. I can understand the problem from a bird's eye view, like an eagle looking down for its prey on the ground. And while I'm looking, I'm noticing what's called anomalies. These anomalies say, why is that there? That shouldn't be there. Now I have to do a comparative analysis to find out where it comes from. If I know what's supposed to be there, and then I can identify clearly what's not supposed to be there, now I got a bucket of stuff that ain't supposed to be somewhere now I can put that puzzle together. All of this stuff here in 10 areas of human activity, right, is being controlled by outsiders that don't have no stake in this land. Who are they and why do they have control of the 10 most critical aspects of human life? They ain't from here. They shouldn't be controlling us over here. But they got it under the pretense as if we want them to control us because we keep begging them to control me, massa. Control me. Right? So they had us create conjures that we tell to ourselves to make sure that we never wake up from the slumber. Right? But they never tell us what it means. You can't go to no preacher. If you go to preacher and ask him what do amen mean, he gonna say, so be it. That's not what it means. Right? And why is it in Hebrew, Islamic, and English prayers? Right? But people don't ask them kind of questions because we not quirky enough.
Mm-hmm.
But you have them certain children, right? Like a Malachi York, that's going to ask those type of questions, like a Yahweh ben Yahweh, right? He's going to ask them type of questions and then he's going to be like, hold up. What do it mean? Right? Then you're going to have people like Mawada Ashby that actually study Kemetic science that know what the word means, but don't know why we keep putting it at the end of all of the prayers. Because we think we praying, Praying, but we actually become and pray, Preay, allowing them to pray on us.
Hey, Rod, I got another question for you. Brings me to my. I got a couple questions. Now we talked about the boarding school thing, and we know that the public schools are the new boarding schools to train us out of our culture. They pretty much indoctrinate us with colonization, and so they've been indoctrinating us with colonization all the way up to the 12th grade. It's the elementary 12th grade, and then they even send you on to college so they can put a cap and a gown on you because gown means to put you behind to sleep. Women wear gowns to sleep, and then that cap is to cap you off. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but look, so where do we go with the new once the tribal lands is restored and the tribal government is restored? How will the school system will it go back to the normal home training and father to son trade skill? Like if your father's a carpenter, you a carpenter. Your father cut hair, you cut hair, etc. Could you go in on that?
Well, even in those family businesses where you follow, all of the children didn't follow the family profession. Only certain ones, right? The other ones went out to try to handle other stuff, arts and entertainment, right? Athletics now is a good outlet for bravado, male bravado. It's a good outlet for that energy. You got simulated fight sports like wrestling. It's a good outlet for that rage, right? Because if you know what you're doing, you gonna feel like if you ain't never got in the wrestling ring with one of them people that's a professional, you won't even know how difficult their job is until they sling your ass around a few times. Hip toss you a couple times, get you with a couple. By the time you get done doing that, and look, they do this like 200-300 days a year, right? And by the time you have one match, you ain't never been in there before, your whole body gonna be hurting for a week.
That's all right.
And they do it on a daily basis. Right? Now it's becoming lucrative enough where they can demand contracts, work less dates, and still maximize their financial output because of their box office draw. It's the same thing. When the families under the return of the tribal system, education is going to primarily be a home pursuit. But since we haven't done it in so long, we gonna have to pool. The women gonna have to pool resources, right? Because they in charge of education, but they allowed to get, like, for instance, if they need me and they need me to come teach a specialty, and I'm the only one that have the skill set to teach it, they can't call nobody else. I gotta go, right? If they don't have a math teacher and it's somebody that's excellent in math and know how to explain it, he the math teacher now. And then the collective of the parents pay him or her, right? But then we gonna have what's called leadership academies, right? In the leadership academy, you re-instructing them in the tribal laws and how the corporate government overrode the tribal laws to enforce their will over the people without the people ever knowing what was being done. Then you gonna have, like, I'm gonna have Brain Banging University, right? And this to teach how to access psychic abilities for children, yoga, different forms of meditation, arts and crafts, all that stuff. But all this stuff might be going on in one building, but you don't tell the child what class to go to. And you don't tell them how long to stay in there. As long as he don't leave the building without an adult being with him, then he could go anywhere in the building he want to go.
Hey, they doing that in Japan now. Remember you sent me that receipt where they was in Japan where they doing that, and they say the kids are 10 times more intelligent than the American kids because of it.
Yeah, and then they teach them to hands-on experience and stuff from an early age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They already cooking, cleaning everything for themselves in the kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we look at them as being helpless until they hit puberty. They're not helpless. They're trying to learn how to live life as early as possible. The best thing you can give them is teach them basic life skills, which is part of the rites of passage that all families going to be required to have. Your family tradition not going to be the same as my family tradition, but it's going to be wired into your rites of passage program for the type of adults you want to raise. All that was took from the tribes. That was common knowledge to the elders. Some of the elders still remember step down education programs.
Right. I think I remember that too back in the day.
Yeah, that's all before
Now,
system took hold.
now my next question, Rod, that's a heavy one because people know how Trump is with the food stamps and everything. Now, if stuff hit the fan, being that a lot of the Native Americans who are being reclassified as black Negroes and coloreds are on stamps and getting support from the government. And when the government pulls the titty out of the mouth, what do you think the food? Because Bill Gates then went out, he's claiming he buying up all of our land.
Bill Gates dead as a doorknob.
Go ahead.
That ain't nobody seen Bill Gates in years. All they seen is pictures of he's supposed to be somewhere with a report under it. They haven't seen no modern footage of him.
It's my first time hearing this. Go ahead, break it down.
Yeah, there ain't no footage of him over the last few years. He gone.
Okay, that makes sense. Because he is one of them. He one of them guys that came public and said if we vaccinate half of the country, or whatever. I don't want to get to it. You know how they is on that on YouTube. Hey,
Yeah.
but going into my question though, how do so in the new on the new tribal governments and tribal lands, the food and the resources, because they might try to, if they pull the grocery stores right now, let's say they pull the grocery stores, pull out the source where people ain't really got enough food saved up to go a month or two. What should we do with it? Like, should they be saving up food? Should they set plans and get together as a community and set up some grow food? What should be going on as far as our main supplies as food, water, and shelter?
You're supposed to always, if possible, provide as much of your own food as you can, because if for no other reason, it's gonna save you money in the long run, right? But you got phases of how it's gonna be different, right? So when they do the lockdown and run tribunal TV, the National Guard is required to deliver food, right? So while we watching tribunals, we ain't got to worry about it. Every so many days, they're gonna come through with rations and say this is enough for 3 people for 4 days. How many people in your household? You know, so they instead of giving you a 30-day supply, because at the end of the 30 days they gonna open up food banks. Remember when they did Focus Hope? That's what that food was being stored up for, but they was letting it go bad because they wasn't the stuff that was perishable was being it was just like molded bread and stuff. So they decided to change what they put in storage for the change, for the switch over. And they, believe me, they got enough to feed a whole lot more people than live in this country for a couple of years on standby. So don't let them tell you it's a food shortage. It ain't no food shortage. It's just that a lot of the food gonna be canned goods and in jars, right? But it's gonna be a lot of it, but it's gonna be packaged. And it ain't gonna be no polysorbate glutamatium in your food. It's gonna have the simple ingredients. What's in this can? Beef, water, and salt. Chicken, water, and salt. Tuna, water, and salt.
Yep, there's some good ones too, though.
Yeah, crushed peanuts is in the peanut butter.
MREs, meals ready.
Mm-hmm. So
hey,
they've been using the military for years to determine how to issue rations. So they know how to feed masses of people. The army can come to your city right now, set up a tent city, have it fully operational from breakfast time to dinner time.
Right.
To have 1,000 people or more fed and out of there in under 2 hours.
Right. I know. I used to do it. I know. That was my job in the military.
But people don't know, like, for instance, when they be telling you it's a war zone over there and the people starving, they trying to starve them.
Yeah.
They trying to starve them. Because you could send somebody in there for civilian relief. They used to do it through the Red Cross in World War One, II, Korea, Vietnam, and a couple of skirmishes and some of the other wars.
Mm-hmm.
But the Red Cross is owned by the Swiss.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that they haven't been able to have the reach that they used to have, because what they used to do is the Swiss would embed spies in the Red Cross to go behind enemy lines. And then they sell the data to the KGB, MI5, CIA, right? And that's how they was running the spy network. And that's how they infiltrated us so well, using the same strategy.
Hey, I got the next question for you, Rod. This is a heavy one. Everybody been asking. They saying the banking system is all banking systems is connected to the central banking system, Federal Reserve, and the money is connected to that. They said the question is, if people got a lot of money, they got 100,000 just laying around of this fiat cash, 20,000 of fiat cash. Should they have that much on hand still, since the government is everything is switching over? What should they do with their money? Should they spend it? Should they invest it? Go ahead.
It's not going to matter what they do with it, because it's going to be a fiat buyback program on the other side of all of this. So this is only to make sure that Big Mama would work 50 years to be the Big Mama. She got $100,000 under her mattress. Now that the currency went back to gold and it has no value. Well, she's going to be compensated with interest, called a suffrage penalty, for having to trade her fiat for real money. But there's going to be a tribal government program in order to. Okay, so when you talk about poverty, right? Poverty requires the people at the top to vacuum from the bottom the value of the currency using the fractional reserve system. Then they have another pool on the money called the tax system. And if you remember, the American Revolution was started, no taxation without representation, about a 2% tax on tea. Now we getting taxed into oblivion and nobody don't want to say nothing. And then coming to find out IRS ain't even a government agency, and there's no law in the books that say we're supposed to pay taxes. So now all of a sudden, we got to pay taxes. That's in order to maintain what they call an impoverished class. And eventually, the plan was to split the people into two marginalized groups, the extremely poor and the super rich, with nobody in the middle. But oppression being atmospheric, that means that you only going to be oppressed to the level in which you allow yourself to be held down. You can only be held down to your level of tolerance to the oppression. If you got a high tolerance, you can stay in poverty longer than anybody else. If you got a medium tolerance, you're going to rise up to the medium income. If you got a low tolerance, you're going to rise higher up, because the poverty is so repulsive to you, is I'm not living my life like this, becomes a determining factor and a drive for your success. And now the only thing you had to do, find your talent and then exploit yourself. And that keep other people from exploiting you. And you use your talent to generate where you want to sit in the oppression scale. A lot of people thought the way out was through the contracts with movies, and they hear about Denzel got 10 million for this movie and Will Smith got 40 million for this movie. That looked like a come up to me. Let me get my acting skills together. They don't know that there's so many restrictions on you when you take that job. Regular people don't know about the restrictions, so it becomes an ambition when they hear the massive amounts of money that an individual made to play a role in a movie, right? It's the same with music. The music, they can shelf your music because the record company is in your contract. They could put your stuff on the shelf while they got a hot artist on their label that's running the market. That's what made Master P a problem, because he was putting out everybody on everybody's stuff. We all in this. We gonna all get money. We gonna all. He the only one artist ain't coming out talking about he screwed them out their money. I ain't heard no Limit Soldier come out and say, "Man, Master P slammed me out of my money." I haven't heard it yet. Don't mean it ain't there. It just means that he got more people that he didn't shice than he did. And the one that he did shice feels so bad about whatever he did to P that he don't want to talk about it. Because that's just his MO. So when we look at the overall structure of hierarchy and wealth and poverty and how they keep us down, they convince us to stay down by us being able to take it better than anybody else. A lot of these people can't take this poverty that we in. They can't take the struggle, the day-to-day struggle of being who we are. Because we strong enough to take it, we gonna take it. We just build up the pre-karma. It's the same as them building up bad karma, except it's in the opposite direction. Live my life, struggle my struggle, build my metal. Prove myself on the proving ground, show them what you know. Let your light shine.
Hey, Rod,
Mm-hmm.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, this is my next question. Okay. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, man. We going in. All right, so Rod, now, so what should we be doing as a people, as a unit, since we tribing up again? We know about the land. We know who we are, our birthrights. What should we be doing as a people? Because the youngsters still going around with their 30 rounds and they switch, man. They spraying up old lady's house. You know, they ain't got no respect to person at this point. So the young, so what should we be doing as a people, as a tribe right now, as a unit, being that Donald Trump is in there, he happy go lucky, he pardoning everybody. You know what I'm saying? He's signing things over. What should we be doing now as a whole? Go ahead.
Well, I can't say too much about the youngsters and their switches. They fed up. They just don't know who the enemy is. I can't tell them to put their guns down. They feel like they're still at war. But if they ever realize that the war is won and they don't have to fight, they'll stop fighting each other. Right? But the reason they still fighting each other is because it's still imposters in every hood. Confidential informants, undercover agents, agent provocateurs, convincing them that they need to kill each other. Right? Ain't nobody calling out that slam ball telling that 14, 15-year-old boy to go get his switch and chop that brother down on the corner that's also 14, 15. They nobody checking that sucker, but it's about to come. He gonna get checked in such a way that all of the imposters gonna show themselves because they're gonna be trying to get the F out of Dodge. They know who they is. Everybody know who they is, but they haven't dawned on them yet that, oh, he talking about so-and-so. My man, you always sending them kids to do some dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that come back with tribal responsibility. You got to understand how to recover your sense of self. You behaving out of character because you acting in the character somebody else assigned as your role. As soon as you write your own character, you can't act out of character no more.
Mm-hmm. That brings my next question, Rod. I like when you hit that black. Bring my next question. My next question for you, Rod, is people out here working. They busting their balls. They going to work. They hadn't got a raise in 3-4 years since the economy been the way it is. But they rent went up every year, right? And so as they put the crunch on us, how do we survive the crunch? Why the tribal government is switching and they try to crunch us at the last minute, raising our rent $200 and they give us a $200 raise on the job? Could you go ahead on that, bro?
That's tailored to the individual because some people was preparing themselves for that eventuality, but most people wasn't. The quintessential story of the ant and the grasshopper, right? So if you feel the pinch, you feel the pinch. But remember, when they foreclose on you, the case that you want is more versus Alliant Credit Union, where they said that they can't foreclose on the mortgage because they never fiat don't have no value, and
Right.
and it created a fraud in the contract. Fraud vitiates our contract. So predicated on the fraud, the Brunson case tell you how to defend your mortgage case, right?
Hey, yeah,
But if you're a renter, pay your rent. That's all I can tell you.
yeah.
If you're a renter, pay your rent, and you can
And even
probably
if they go
turn
up
up
two
for
hundred
some.
dollars more,
You might have to cut 200 from somewhere else or pay your rent because the renter don't have the same protection as a mortgage holder.
right?
He under the landlord tenant agreement that's just broke down in every city. Every city got a handbook for landlords where they used to, where you could go in, get your handbook, and like let's say you got a slumlord for a landlord, you use that
Mm-hmm.
book and you use the escrow account to compel him to repair whatever it is. But that's a whole nother subject. But the homeowner, right, that was lured into the mortgage can cancel the mortgage with a cease and desist for fraud
Mm-hmm.
from collecting fiat money ruled to be an unconstitutional currency by the Supreme Court. And it creates a fraud in the contract. Fraud cancels the contract.
That's right.
And
I got
then
a whole take on
possession
that.
is 9/10 of the law. You in possession of the property. The property is in your possession, therefore the bank can't take it.
That's right. For the people that's new to the channel, you can go to my real estate classes playlist, and I got the tape in there called the mortgage tape, and there's other tapes too that tie into other questions like we just asked. Right, the real estate playlist. It's got about 30 tapes up in there breaking down a lot of the stuff we just talked about. Uh, my next question for you, Rod, because we getting to that mark. Now that Larry's got out of jail, what do you think Larry's gonna be doing? Is he gonna? I know he ain't gonna be part of no gang movement and none of that. But what do you think like Larry getting out and when he get out? What do you think would be good for him to be doing? Is it just chilling and drinking some lemonade, taking to go to Bahamas, and say, man, to hell with the video movies and all this TV shit? Let me get, man. I've been in jail 20, 30, 40 years. Let me drink a pina colada under the thing, handling my business. Let me handle my business with a girl or something. So what do you think Larry should be doing, or what he gonna be doing, based on what you think when he get out?
He's probably spending time with his family is gonna be the most important thing, man. Larry got so many children. He got grandkids he ain't never even met in person. He only talked to them on the phone. So he gonna be, talking to the family when he get home, his immediate family. That's his first order of business before he deal with the community. Right. So however much time before he want to be out in the public that he take to spend time with his family, um, then that's up to him. He earned the right to pick his shot. Tukey been thawed out for 3 years. We just haven't seen him yet.
And you been telling people that Tookie hadn't been thawed out. He been thawed out. That he at a military base or something like that. Now I see that Donald Trump now is liquidating a lot of the U.S. assets, especially the military equipment. Now, being that all that equipment was bought with our money, with our resources and transfers to their fiat currency, do some of that military equipment go back to us as the tribal lands, to tribal people?
We make up the military.
Okay.
The military job.
The military republic. Go ahead. I know you're talking about now. Go ahead. I just thought about it.
So they had for a long time we thought we was under the jurisdiction of the people. We the people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? But coming to find out, they was working for the Crown of England. When they figured it out, they didn't figure it out until the 50s. The wars, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, was to keep the upper brass distracted about who they was working for. And only a couple of presidents spoke up about it. Eisenhower gave the military industrial complex speech.
Mm-hmm.
JFK gave the separation of church and state in the address to the press club on the conspiracy of the secret societies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then Ronald Reagan was governor of California, and he was going to blow the lid off everything. And that's why they gave him George Herbert Walker Bush, director of the CIA, as a running mate.
Mm-hmm.
When have you ever heard of somebody in the intelligence field becoming the top politician?
That's
I'll
right.
wait. Right? Because there's two different functions.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't let Reagan, with the stuff he said as governor, get in the office and then tell the people the stuff he was going to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, he was going to tell them everything about the ships, everything. What was Eisenhower talking about when he was talking about the military industrial complex? He was going to tell all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying. The only reason he wanted to be the president so he can read the presidential book that all presidents wrote in. Right? Because from there, he was going to tell him who was selling us out and who was fighting for us. But if you go back and look, almost every 20 years leading from Lincoln to Kennedy, the president that came to power to help us got murdered.
Yeah. There, say shot it back of the head or something.
Ronald Reagan was the first survivor in the every 20 years.
Well, and somebody else got shot before him. Now it was Theodore. One of them got shot. Theodore Roosevelt. Somebody got shot before him, and another dude, the dude that got shot before him, he died. But then Theodore Roosevelt, or one of them got shot. But he survived too, though. But he was after he was president, though.
You talking about the duel on the White House lawn, ain't you?
I'll think of his name. It might be. I'll think of his name in a minute, but he was a Knights of Templar, and the Killer Clowns was after the Knights of Templar, and Abraham Lincoln was a knight too. But everybody that was knights pretty much got either shot at or killed as the president. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you. Right? So so that brings me to my next question. Do you think that the Larry Hoover released pardon is a smokescreen to cover up other big things the government is doing, like some dirty? And they just
Diddy was a smoke screen to cover up Larry.
Okay, well that makes sense. Go ahead.
They knew Trump was going to pardon Larry. They been knew it.
Yeah.
Well, commuted sentence. He didn't pardon him. He commuted his sentence. You get the wording right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, what's the difference between commuting and pardon?
Pardon mean that it's totally erased from your record. A commutation mean that they could let you out right now, but you got conditions attached to it.
I mean, if he do anything, he trip on a canned
I
good or
think
something.
no, it ain't that serious. But I think what it is like the conditions is the state court letting. That's what give him his freedom through the state court,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So we gonna go the governor. I don't think the governor of Illinois beefing with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's where he need to be looking for his release. I think the parole board is more likely to go with the president than the
Yeah.
governor is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. So,
So they'll let him out on parole just to get him out.
yeah, makes
And
sense.
I think that's where his smartest thing is to petition for an immediate parole hearing, and
Makes sense.
don't let it go to the governor, right? Because if you
Yeah.
get a parole hearing, the compelling cause of his parole is the presidential commutation.
Mm-hmm.
And if the president felt, in his great wisdom, sir, in all of his great wisdom, if he felt that that Larry is not a threat to society and should be released, then the parole board 9 out of 10 will go with that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the governor, being a DIK, might
Yeah.
not go with it,
Right.
just to spite everybody else.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked into the background of the governor of Illinois, so I can't tell you a whole lot about him, like how he sees stuff to determine if he even good to play ball with. But
Okay.
if I was in Larry's seat, I would say, okay, don't push it to the governor yet. Immediately file for parole hearing.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to get a parole hearing every couple of years anyway out of Illinois. So if
Mm-hmm.
all the time he been in Ad Max, damn near 30 years, if he haven't been seeing the board on a regular basis, he due for a parole hearing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
I just think that's the smartest course of action.
Yeah.
But it's other people to come,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? We got
Yeah.
a lot of political prisoners that's classified as criminals through COINTELPRO that's not
Right.
criminals,
That's right.
but they've been demonized by the system in order to make the people say out of sight, out of mind. Because if they feel like you're innocent, it's more likely that people will speak up on your behalf. But if they can demonize you sufficiently enough, there's nobody advocating for you to the tribes, so the tribes won't fight for your release.
Right.
When we get a hold of it, we'll force them release just by the energy. We'll force their release just by our energy and how we stand on a particular cause of liberation.
That's right.
Just the way we feel about it, and shit, they got meters measuring us, literally, not figuratively. Like they measure the algorithms. They ask the AI, what is the algorithm on this leader and this leader and this leader? Well, the good thing is that's why I put everybody under the banner of Free Larry Hoover,
Right.
right?
Every
Because
single tape we put out. Yeah.
because if you want to see Jeff Ford free, Free Larry Hoover means free Jeff Ford. It's already
Yeah.
recorded,
Yeah.
right? If you want to see H. Rap Brown free, Free Larry Hoover means free H. Rap Brown.
Man, I tell you what though, that's on my mama, nigga. Now that Trump freed Larry Hoover, I'm gonna be riding Trump till he get out. I'm gonna ride Trump almost
Man,
every week, every
Trump,
day by getting
Trump,
Dr. Malachi's New York out.
look,
Yeah, so yeah. Huh?
Trump on top of it, man. He know what he doing.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be sending. I'm gonna get write letters. We finna crank it up, man. Turn it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's because he in a good mood. Let's keep him in that good mood. Cause look, my granddaddy used to tell me. He said, man, when you got your hand in a lion's mouth, you don't just snatch it out. right? You gotta rub him on rub that line, pet him, and ease your hand out of his mouth. Because if you snatch your hand out, you might lose it. So we finna rub and pet that line on his head and ease Dr. Malachi York out of his goddamn on mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, Doc, Pop's coming home. Ain't no doubt about it.
Telling you, man, you gotta let Doc look, man. He let Larry. It's Doc gotta go, man.
Free
Malachi
York is also under the banner of Free Larry Hoover.
That's right.
Bring Assata Shakur home is also under the banner of Free Larry Hoover. Right? This woman got to be in exile from her land.
Yeah. Yep.
No, the governor of New Jersey. The governor of New Jersey need to give her a full and unconditional pardon for the war we was fighting with the enemy, the police.
That's
right. And the reason being is the police is a foreign military. We supposed to be fighting them SOBs.
That's right.
Right? But because we agreed to educate ourselves above the condition and not take them to bloody warfare, it's the only reason why they use that to get the upper hand on us. Mm-hmm. But they always be the ones that instigate it. We got a right to defend ourselves, even though we not initiating bloody warfare. We still got a right to defend ourselves. They can't take that right from us. That's first law of nature. That is above and override any of the legislation that they legislate. Now they trying to say there ain't no such thing as self-defense. BS.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm going to defend me. I don't care. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
It's like that dude dead up in Virginia, the black brother who was sleeping in his house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the three white boys came and they did a breaking and entering on his house, but they said it was a prank, and he shot and killed 2 of the white boys, and now he being charged with murder for defending his own home.
Yeah, but they got just let these other people walk. They just shot this 17-year-old brother for breaking in their house, and they ain't charged them.
That's crazy. That show you what the system is not for the natives. It's for anybody other than us, non-natives. It's funny.
As long as we don't realize,
colonizers only, man. Colonizers only.
Look, as long as we don't realize that we have a foreign occupying force on the land, we can't defend ourselves properly. But once you understand who they is, you take away the need from them by conforming your conduct
around them.
Self-control. Everybody needs self-control. Self-control is what keeps them from having the ability to say they need somebody here to protect them from each other because they savages.
Yeah, right. Right. It makes sense. Hey, we'll take one more question. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We got 2,000 people on right now. You want to show the brother Raw Hayes some love? We got his Cash App on the screen. Hey, y'all, man, this was a lit one right here tonight, y'all. For the people that just coming in, we've been talking about Larry at the beginning and the end, all the way through. Everybody know they just freed Larry. Shout out all my GDs. They probably partying right now, throwing some kickbacks and powwows right now because they chief about to get ready to touch down. Man, so where do we go from here, Rod? You want to say anything before we get out of here, Rod? Any closing remarks and things?
Look, everything that I've been telling y'all, it's been happening in real time. A lot of the stuff we don't know already been over with. The continuity of government, we at the end of the end. The beginning of the new beginning. Right? So we just have to let it play out, because as it play out, we can see more and more clear that everybody that thought Rod Hayes was a fraud and found out, oh, that brother know what he's talking about. I don't care about I told you so's. I don't mind congratulations, but I told you so's. Man, you told us. I know I told you. It has to happen because I literally followed the tribal oral tradition to the letter to get us out of this conundrum. And that includes getting all of the ones of us that's political prisoners and prisoners of war liberated. Right? It's just one brother I want to go get myself. His brother, they call him Killer Miller. He's in Marquette in upstate Michigan. The only reason I want to go get him myself is because if he see one of them COs, he's probably gonna snatch their head off. Because that's who he been at war with. But he been in solitary confinement for 30 years. Oh, 40 years now. Been about 40 years now.
Dang, that's crazy. Man, he probably ain't the same.
Man, I have like 5 different OGs tell me his story, man. I was so damn mad. I wanted to take the COs to war, but I had to remember the mission was bigger than the man.
Dang. Hey, so everybody ready to get up out of here, Roy? Hey, Roy, after this, we don't gotta say free Larry Hoover no more. On now we can tag free Malachi York from this point on. Because Larry Hoover pretty great, huh? Larry Hoover free after he get out. We can say gotta do that tag free Larry Hoover. Now we can do nobody do free Larry Hoover tags no more. Everybody do tag free Malachi York.
Or you flip the Larry Hoover tag to Larry Hoover free, which means that Malachi York gonna be free. Because the free Larry Hoover was Malachi was tied to that because of the COINTEL operation that went into it. But by you keeping the algorithm, if you want to keep the algorithm control, you just flip from free Larry Hoover to Larry Hoover free. You still got Malachi, you still got Angel Bay, you still got H-Rap Brown, you still got Asada Shakur, you still got Mamiya, you still got all those Panthers in there. You know, they still in there, but now you are pretty much flipping the alchemy to bring them. It's Larry Hoover is like the spearhead of a meteor coming up out of there. Mm-hmm. And in his tailwind gonna be some great men and women. Right? And we gonna pay more attention to Sister Ramona Africa speaking up about the Philadelphia move. We gotta recognize the struggle in order to overcome the struggle. The more you understand it, the more you control your ascent above it. And by understanding the Rosewood and Tulsa, the Great Fire in Chicago, how all of the castles was turned into prisons and mental institutions and state buildings, because that's all they wanted us for, was to make us prisoners, drive us insane, or make us work for them. And you naturally gonna go where your castle at. What is it gonna take for me to get to my castle?
All right, so Rod, that'll do it, man. This was another one. As the famous words of, hey, we the best, right? Hey, another one. Right? And we're gonna be back, y'all. When we get more updates on the land. We're gonna keep y'all updated to what's going on Larry. Man, we in good feeling. That's a good feeling. It's a good energy in the air. It's a real good energy in the air going around right now. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna keep that energy going. Everybody just keep that energy going, you know what I'm saying? So we can get all our political prisoners free. Right? So we love you all. We send divine love throughout the violence universe to all the matriarchs on the land for the restoration. Peace and love. Wadu.
Wadu.